Hi, in this video I will show you how to use the two renumbering tools available in Altair HyperMesh. The more advanced ID manager is not covered in this video. Let's first have a look on the first tool named Renumber. As you can see, this tool can be used on any kind of entities. Let's try it on a selection of elements. Before running the tool, let's have a look on the current IDs. And let's try to renumber the first row of element. Once you have selected some element, you can define a start ID and an increment ID in the micro dialog. Let's run the tool. As a result, as you can see, nothing happens because the range of IDs that I have asked is already used in the model. So as a solution, I can either define a new start ID above actually the current max occupied ID. This way, let me undo. Or I can ask to overwrite any existing IDs by activating this overwrite existing IDs option. As you can see, the previous numbering order is maintained. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I undo, it was 11, 12, 17, 18. Another functionality available in the Renumber tool is the offset mode. You can, like that, select some element and instead of renumbering them, define an offset value in order to offset every selected IDs. Let's escape the tool and let's now have a look on the more advanced renumbering tool called spatial renumber. Let's again select some element and let's have a look on the micro dialog. As you can see, this tool is based on a system. So you can either use the global system or select any local current system from your model. Once you have selected a local system, you should see this colored system on your mesh. And you can define with this field in the micro dialog the direction to follow, the axis to follow. Let's say, for instance, we would like to follow the x-axis of our local system. So the red arrow, which is the primary arrow, will be used. This is the direction that will be followed to renumber, to increment the ID. Let's ask to start with the ID number 1 and let's define an increment value of 1. By default, the overwrite existing IDs option is activated with the spatial renumber tool. And let's run the tool. And as you can see, as a result, we've got the ID 1, 2, 3 in this direction to 10, and then go back to the starting point and continue the renumbering. 11, 12, 13, etc. If you want to change the direction, you can play with this field instead of X. Let's ask to use the X minus and let's renumber. You can also use a cylindrical system instead of the rectangular one. Let me show you that with this model. Let's select some element and let's ask to use the cylindrical system with the micro dialog. Now you can decide to use either the radius axis to follow the cylinder axis to get this kind of renumbering, and of course you can use the angle axis in order to have this kind of renumbering. What if now you would like to have two different increments in two different directions? In other words, to have a non-continuous renumbering schema. For this purpose, you can use the rectangular grid functionality. Let's do the same. Let's reselect all the cylindrical elements. And as you can see in the micro dialog, you can now use multiple axes and multiple increments to follow. So let's define, for instance, to use as a primary axis the angle, y, And let's use the axis direction of the cylinder, Z. As we have 31 elements on the first axis, let's use the second increment of 100. And let's run the renumbering. Then, as you can see, the first row of elements use the range of ID from 1 to 31. Then the second row from 101 to 131, etc. Eventually, there is a final tool named adjacent renumbering that can be used even if you don't have any system. Let me show you that. Let's select some element and define a new start ID in the micro dialog. Then let's click on the option button to access this secondary guide bar. We have to select some entities in order to define the different renumbering direction. For instance, let's select this element with the ID 592. Let's click another time on the element on the right side, and let's select this third element. And this way, as you can see, you can define your primary and secondary renumbering direction. So let's finally define a primary ID increment, and let's run the tool. This way, we could get a continuous range of ID on the first row from ID 1 to 27 and continue the renumbering along this direction. As you can see, you can also define secondary and tertiary increment. In order to be able to give some value to this field, you have to deactivate the continuous increment option from the micro dialog. And this way, let's redefine the different entities, start point, primary, secondary, and let's define a secondary ID increment for the second direction, for instance, 100.